Slowly but surely we're getting to the end of this first part of the course on visualization. And in today's tutorial we will learn how to combine two charts in Tableau, which will allow us to conduct our data mining procedures much more efficiently. But before we proceed, I wanted to ask you for a quick favor. If you're enjoying the course so far and if you're learning quite a bit from these tutorials, then would you mind leaving a review? It's very easy to do. Just on the course page up at the top there's a button here, rate course, and all you have to do is just click it and select the number of stars you think the course deserves. Perhaps you could write a quick note if you'd like to comment on something, but even just leaving the number of stars would mean a lot to me. And I'm asking you now because a lot of people don't get to the end of this course, provided it is a 200 plus lecture course, and more importantly, it is very valuable for students who are considering this course to see what you have to say about the course and see your rating. And also, if for any reason throughout the course you change your mind, you can always come back here and change your rating. Hope you can do that and help me out with a review, and let's get straight back into the show. In the previous two tutorials, we created two independent charts. One is kind of like a test, like an A/B test or a classification test, which tells us which age bands are more at higher risk of leaving the company based on the sample and the observed period of time, based on the test that was conducted, basically. And the other chart, which is over here, tells us the distribution of age overall. So today we're going to learn how to combine these two charts into one, and so that we can draw insights from them at the same time. And we're going to be combining them on this age chart. So we're going to be adding the distribution to this age classification chart. And let's go ahead and do that. In order to add a second chart, all you have to do is decide on what exactly you want to add to this chart. So we want to keep the bins, right? We want the columns to be the same because they're the same across both charts. So here and here they're exactly the same. And so all we want to add is a new type of rows. In this case, we have the percentage of total, which is our table calculation here. And now we want to add another type of row, which is going to be just the number of records. So now I'm going to take number of records and drag it onto the rows pane over here. As you can see, a new chart has appeared, and in order to make more space, just find this delimiter between the charts and drag it upwards a little bit so that we have sufficient room. That looks like it's good. Okay, before we do anything else, I would like to point out a few things that have changed in our workbook or on this worksheet overall. So first thing, we now have rows in we have a new measure in rows. Of course, we have this new chart, but also if you look at this marks area, now it looks very different. Now we have all, a tab which is all, so for all the charts. Then we have a tab for our first chart, and we also have a tab for our second chart, right? So that is very interesting. It gives you control. If you want to control everything, you can control it here. So for instance, I could what could I do here? I could change the colors, right? And they would change everywhere. So I could say stayed would be green, exited would be red. Okay, that changed everything. Or I can go into one of them, and let's say the new chart, and I can remove exited if I don't want it. And as you can see, it doesn't affect the top chart. I can remove the label if I don't want it. That doesn't affect the top chart again. And then I can go and change the color here, which I'm going to do. I'm going to change it to, just like we had previously, to a type of brownish color. And then I can add something here. So as you remember, we had a percentage, the color was dependent on the number of records. So let's take number of records and hold control and drag it into the color. Once again, I'm going to have to change the brown. There we go, that's our brown. Okay. Now what I wanted to do is, I don't like this red actually, so let's go back to now this chart, this top chart over here. So you can see what it's like to work with several charts. You can have many more than that. And here you can quickly go into colors and stayed. What did we have for stayed? I think it was blue, exited was orange, apply. That's what our chart looked like. And that's looking good, much better. But now we want to add a label to this chart over here. So let's add a label which is some number of records. So we'll take this some number of records, hold down control, drag it onto label. There it is. That's our number of records. And what else did we want to do? Well, from here, what I would suggest doing is like this. They look kind of a bit separate. To be honest, I like when this chart is on top of the other one. So let's try and experiment with that one. Let's try and do that. In order to switch their order, you just have to switch the order over here in rows. So I'm going to take the new chart and drag it before the old chart over here. As you can see, they've switched their order, and also the panes or the tabs in the marks pane have switched their order as well. Now, this is the top chart, this is the bottom chart. You can always tell by this triangle. The triangle signifies a table calculation, which we have over here. So there we go. That's our two charts. And what can we see from here? Well, we can see that, as we knew before, our customers are mostly represented by these two age groups, so between 30 and 40 or 45 years old. And also in these three age groups, the probability of leaving is the lowest in the 30 to 35, then it's a bit higher 35 to 40, but still below average. And then at 40 to 45, it goes above average. Then the probability of leaving increases for these age groups, but the number of customers in these age groups reduces. And then what we were talking about, these anomalies over here, as we suspected, there is a very low number of customers overall in these bands, in these age bands, and therefore these anomalies may not be statistically significant, probably aren't. And just like this one over here, so customers between 15 and 20 years old. And that gives us some quick insights or additional insights into the chart. This is how you can very quickly and efficiently analyze two charts. But the main focus, I guess, of this tutorial was to get comfortable with working with two charts on one worksheet like this, because which one do you put at the top, which one do you put at the bottom, what colors do you set, but most importantly, of course, how to work with these separately. So remember that you can control the charts together or separately. And here you can see that the colors are grayed out, the labels are grayed out. That's because that tells us that each of these charts has their own color palette and their own labels that have been applied to them, and then you can go into these separately. So have a play around with that, have a look at what you can do, can change around, because after all, even if you break something, you can just quickly recreate the chart, no problem at all. Just try to get as comfortable as you can with this new feature of Tableau that we've just discussed. And in the next tutorial, we'll discuss something very interesting. I will show you how to, well, I'll give you some ideas about how to assess the statistical significance that we keep talking about. And it'll be quite an interesting tutorial, a bit more statistical, but also quite important. It'll give us that additional leverage in terms of what the analysis that we can extract from these charts. Hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and I hope you're enjoying the course overall. If you are, please do not hesitate to leave a review. It would mean a lot to me if you just click the number of stars you think the course deserves. You can do it in the top right part of your screen on the course page, and it takes literally 10 seconds. And I look forward to seeing you on the next tutorial. Until then, happy analyzing.